Welcome to the Ocean of His Words channel, where each week we immerse ourselves in the ocean of the words of God and discover the pearls of wisdom hidden in its depths. In this session, we'll talk about how you can have a pure, kindly, and radiant heart based on the first counsel of the hidden words. Let's introduce ourselves. I'm Joe Goldstein.
I'm Harry Madray.
And I'm Dan Ray, and we're all three Baha'is in the Statesboro community of Georgia. Let's look at the first hidden word.
O Son of Spirit, my first counsel is this: possess a pure, kindly, and radiant heart, that thine may be a sovereignty ancient, imperishable, and everlasting. Bahá'u'lláh.
Thank you, Hari. Well, let's take a look at this first counsel in the hidden words. And as we do so, we'll be exploring questions about how each of us can have a pure, kindly, and radiant heart.
Let's preview some of these questions.
Who is O Son of Spirit? What is a counsel? Why first counsel? What is a pure, kindly, and radiant heart? What is a sovereignty ancient, imperishable, and everlasting? What is the relationship between our heart and our sovereignty? How does this counsel help us to be faithful to God's covenant?
Thank you, Hari. Yes, so we'll investigate each of these questions as we continue through our presentation.
Let's start with who is O Son of Spirit?
Well, the term son in this particular context is really a generic term. It's not referring just to men, but rather it could be anybody who is reading this. Notice that this beginning part of the hidden word is an invocation. And in this invocation, God is appealing to our higher nature, to our spiritual nature. You might want to think about what is spirit, what is meant by spirit here. Well, we know that this is in this case, this spirit is divine in origin, God, the Spirit of God. And then if we are the son of that spirit, then clearly we are children of God. And invocate this is just one example of an invocation in the hidden words. There are different invocations that are used throughout them, and each one is different. And they have a special nature. They have an essential purpose. And the reason that they appear is because they kind of set the tone or the context through which we are to understand the subsequent words, the words that follow them.
Let's go on now and look at the second question. What is a counsel?
Advice, guidance, opinion, or recommendation as to what ought to be done, according to the Oxford English Dictionary. Why
Yes,
is this hidden word the first counsel? When a
uh,
true seeker determined to take the step of search in the path leading to the knowledge of the Ancient of Days, he must, before all else, cleanse and purify his heart. Bahá'u'lláh.
Thank you, Hari. Well, let's talk a little bit about the word counsel. So this is advice and guidance, although in this context, I would not say it's an opinion. Baha'u'lláh is expressing himself with great forcefulness as the manifestation or as the voice of God in this particular instance. So it's giving us guidance about how to live spiritually. And then I want to focus on the words in the second quote before all else. I think that what he's saying here is that this first hidden word, this first counsel, is a kind of prerequisite for all the other spiritual growth and development that we want to do. Maybe foundational counsel. So it makes the other spiritual advancement, the other growth possible.
Let's see what Baha'u'lláh is actually counseling us to do. He's saying to have a pure heart. What is a pure heart?
The pure heart is one that is entirely cut away from self, To be selfless is to be pure. Abdu'l-Baha. O my brother, a pure heart is as a mirror. Cleanse it with the burnish of love and severance from all save God, that the true sun may shine therein and the eternal morning dawn. Bahá'u'lláh.
Thank you, Hari. Well, so there's a lot to consider here, a lot to ponder here. I have a number of questions. My first question is what is a heart in this particular context? Clearly it's not the physical heart, but it's more of a metaphorical, literary concept of the heart as kind of the seat of the mind, the soul, and the spirit all together at once. And then also the question, what does it mean to have a pure heart? What are the essential characteristics of a pure heart? And for that matter, what exactly does it mean to be selfless? So I feel that when we have a pure heart, we are severed from all things except for God. We're not attached to the things of the world. And to be selfless means to be thinking of others before oneself, to be thinking of the will of God before one's own personal will. So those are my takes on those particular questions.
I might add that Abdu'l-Baha talks about a pure heart as being like pure milk, so pure that a baby can drink it. You know, with pure milk, you can make cheese, you can make cream, but pure milk can be tainted. It can be spoiled by a drop of vinegar. And that drop of vinegar is like our ego that insists on having its way. Like you were saying, Joe, being selfish, being insistent on having its way. So when we are pure, we are selfless and we turn our hearts. Our hearts are like mirrors, a mirror that has been burnished or polished by the love of God that burns away the dust and the veils and allows the Son of God's love to radiate in the mirror of our heart. Let's go on now to look at what a kindly heart is.
Do not be content with showing friendship in words alone. Let your heart burn with loving kindness for all who may cross your path. Abdu'l-Baha. A kindly tongue is the lodestone of the hearts of men. It is the bread of the spirit. It clotheth the words with meaning. It is the fountain of the light of wisdom and understanding. Bahá'u'lláh.
Thank you, Hari. Well, some other questions that come to my mind. What exactly does it mean to be kindly? What are the characteristics of kindness, the essential characteristics of kindness? And I think that for me, the essence of kindness is preferring other people before yourselves. So as Baha'u'llah says, preferring your brother before yourself. And what is a lodestone is another question. That's kind of an unfamiliar word to me. Maybe Dan, you can throw some light on that. And also, he mentions that the kindly tongue is the bread of the spirit. So that kind of reminds me of the parable of Jesus and the loaves of bread and how he was able to multiply them and nourish the people. So if that's the bread of the spirit, it provides nourishment to us. So we nourish the people around us through our kind words. We spiritually nourish them. So my interpretation of maybe what those words could mean.
And I'd like to add that in the first quote, he's talking about loving kindness for all. It's not just for our friends, but for strangers, for even for our enemy. So we want to be lovingly kind to all people. And the lodestone of our heart, when we are kind, when we have kind words for people, that will attract them. The lodestone is a magnet. And so our kind words become a magnet for other people, and they will be attracted to what we have to share with them. And so in the Bible, it says a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So if we can be kind, have kind words for others, that will nourish their spirit and it will attract them. Let's now look at what it means to be what is a radiant heart.
God has crowned you with honor, and in your hearts has he set a radiant star. Verily, the light thereof shall brighten the whole world. Abdul-Baha. May this boundless love so fill your hearts and minds that sadness may find no room to enter, and may you with joyful hearts soar like birds into the divine radiance. Abdul-Baha.
Thank you, Hari. So just some basic questions that come to my mind as we read this. I have to wonder, what does it actually mean to have a radiant star in your heart that brightens the whole world? And for me, that means that radiance is light. It comes out. It provides warmth. So when you say a person has a warm personality, they radiate generosity. They radiate positive energy outward to others. So that's kind of what it makes me think of. And also, I can formulate a question from the second part. How can we prevent sadness from entering our hearts and minds? And we can answer that with the second quote, which is that we should fill our hearts and minds with that boundless love, that radiant love, and that would keep the sadness from going into them.
I think we can tell when a person has a radiant star in their heart. They have a smile on their face. They have that radiant countenance, that loving countenance that attracts you. You want to be near them. You want to talk with them. And so all of these qualities give that divine radiance. Let's now look at the relationship of our heart and our sovereignty. What is that relationship?
What is a sovereignty? Supremacy in respect of power, domination, or rank, supreme dominion, authority, or rule, according to the Oxford English Dictionary. What is an ancient, imperishable, and everlasting sovereignty? Abandon not for that which perisheth in everlasting dominion, and cast not away celestial sovereignty or worldly desire. Bahá'u'lláh.
Thank you, Hari. Well, this brings up a number of questions for me, like what kind of sovereignty is being referred to here? Clearly, it's not referring to the type of temporal, worldly sovereignty, such as a president, a king, a general, a chairman. These are types of sovereignty or authority that come and go because the human lifespan is limited in its duration. But if you're talking about an ancient and imperishable uh, and everlasting sovereignty, we're talking about a sovereignty that can transcend, that can go beyond the limits of a human life. And this is the lasting, enduring, permanent sovereignty.
And I might add that this definition talks about the supremacy and respect of power. Our supreme power is our sovereignty, the spiritual power. And that's a superpower, the spiritual power that we have. This is our true spiritual power to be a pure, kindly, and radiant heart. That is our sovereignty. And that's the kingdom of God in our heart that we're building, that we're creating. Let's go on and look at that relationship of our heart and our sovereignty and what that means. What is the relationship between our heart and our sovereignty?
O kings of the earth, it is not our wish to lay hands on your kingdoms. Our mission is to seize and possess the hearts of men. Forsake your palaces and haste ye to gain admittance into his kingdom. Bahá'u'lláh.
Thank you, Hari. Christianity teaches us that the kingdom of God is within us. And the Baha'i faith teaches that the heart is a throne for God's manifestation in spirit. So this type of sovereignty that we have within our hearts is an ancient, imperishable, and everlasting sovereignty, as we already mentioned. And as Baha'u'lláh says here in the quote, he was not looking to be a worldly leader with worldly authority. Rather, he was looking to seize and possess the hearts of men. And this, again, is the real important, significant sovereignty, the sovereignty that Jesus Christ had and still has the sovereignty that Bahá'u'lláh has.
And this reminds me of a quote from the Bible. What shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? And so the question we need to ask, who is sitting on the throne of my heart? Is it God or is it something else? You know, Christ gave the commandment in the Bible that we should love God above all else. Are we allowing God to have our full affection? Are we giving our full attention, our wholehearted devotion to God? Is God the one who's sitting on the throne of our heart? Or is it some addiction? Or is it some attachment to material things? So those things will perish, but the only thing that's everlasting is that kingdom of God that's in our heart. So let's now look at what it means to be faithful to God's covenant. What is God's covenant?
Covenant, in a religious sense, is a binding agreement between God and man, whereby God requires of man certain behavior in return for which he guarantees certain blessings. The universal house of justice.
Thank you, Hari. Uh, Two words that really stand out for me from this quote are the words certain behavior, that where God requires of man certain behavior. So, what exactly is the Universal House of Justice referring to here? Well, the hidden words, really, the entire book itself specifies what this behavior is. And what is the first counsel in this guidance about our spiritual and personal conduct? It is to have a pure, kindly, possess a pure, kindly, and radiant heart. So that's what we need to do in the first instance to be faithful to God's covenant.
This pure, kindly, and radiant heart is the first step in a long journey drawing closer to God. And that's a part of the covenant. God guides us. He gives us this counsel on how we can have that sovereignty, that kingdom of God within our heart. And so this is the first step that we're taking tonight by discussing this first counsel. And when we are obedient to this, we will then be able to take that step and reap the blessings of having that pure, kindly, and radiant heart and the beauty of that sovereignty within our heart. Let's go on now and look at a pure, kindly, and radiant heart. What is the opposite of a PKR? Well, first of all, Joe, would you just tell us about the PKR heart?
Yes. So Rainn Wilson, who was in the TV series The Office, is actually a Baha'i. Maybe you didn't know that. Well, you know it now. And Rainn Wilson talks about the PKR heart. I don't know if he invented the acronym, but he certainly uses it in some of his writings and discussions. He talks about what are the essential characteristics of the PKR heart, the pure, kindly, and radiant heart.
And what's the opposite of a PKR heart?
Well, you can just look at the antonyms of that. The opposite antonym of pure would be impure. The opposite of kindly would be unkindly. The opposite of radiant would be darkened. And so that would be characterized by selfishness, self-centeredness, lack of generosity, not being illumined, not reflecting the divine light, etc. So these would be examples of an absence of those positive qualities.
And when I think of that opposite quality, I think of a divisive person, a person who divides and who creates antagonism. And we want to unify people, bring people together in the love of God. So, what is a PKR heart? I think that can be best illustrated with some stories.
Oh, well, yeah. So we could talk about people that we have known, and the first person that comes to my mind was my stepfather, uh, Frank Taylor, a Baha'i who passed away about 5 years ago in 2020. And on his headstone, we put the words "a pure, kindly, and radiant heart" because we felt that he really demonstrated these qualities in his life. He was very generous, to members of his family, to his friends, and to the wider community, which he served with great distinction as a public school educator for many years. And he was a very devoted Baha'i who was very committed to the Baha'i teachings and to the Baha'is in his local communities.
And I'd like to share a story about my wife, Maria, who passed away a month and a half ago. She had a very pure, kindly, and radiant heart that brought people together, that attracted the people around her. She was a teacher in the school system, and I asked her, how were you able to relate to blacks and whites and Asians and Hispanics? You seem to be able to communicate and connect with everyone. And she said, hugs and kisses for everyone, hugs and kisses all around. And
Mhm.
so that was a quality that she had. She also told me sometimes she would go to the elementary schools and the Hispanic children would be lined up early in the morning wanting to get a hug and kiss from her. And some of the other children, they became jealous and they would line up and they would want their hugs and kisses. And so that was, a couple of the characteristics that made her a pure, kindly, and radiant heart.
Mhm.
Let's go on now to look at some of the related Christian scriptures.
Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Matthew 5:8. Created me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Psalm 51, verse 10. Behold, the kingdom of God is within you. Luke 17:21. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Mark 8:36.
Thank you, Hari. Well, I would like to talk briefly about one or two of these. The first one, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. This purity of heart allows us to have a greater understanding, a greater perception of the divine reality. It purifies our sight as well as our heart or our perception, so that we can see the manifestation of God's will and purpose in everything that we do and everything we experience. And and also the psalm that Hari read, to create in me a clean heart and renew a right spirit within me. Uh, I think that the two are connected maybe, because if you want yours to be right spiritually, then you have to cleanse yourself internally, purify your thinking and your emotions of all worldly attachments, and to turn to the divine.
Let's go on now and look at some of the resources for a deeper dive. And the first link is about the Radiant Heart Song by Shadi, a very beautiful, entrancing song. And the second link is about a prayer by Bahá'u'lláh, How to Create a Pure Heart. And then the article by Rainn Wilson on the PKR heart. I think you'll enjoy that one. And two articles by David Langness are very practical recommendations and suggestions on how to apply the pure, kindly, and radiant heart, how to purify it. And then by Ariana Salvo, she talks about the transformative power of kindness. And then two articles by Christopher Buck, Dr. Christopher Buck. He's a scholar, and he talks about how kind words can be much more persuasive than you would expect, especially more persuasive than being rude or trying to dominate. And he also talks about sovereignty and how we can have a personal sovereignty, that celestial sovereignty in our hearts. So let's now go on and preview our next session.
O Son of Spirit, the best and beloved of all things in my sight is justice. Turn not away therefrom, if thou desirest me, and neglect it not, that I may confide in thee. By its aid thou shalt see with thine own eyes, and not through the eyes of others, and shalt know of thine own knowledge, and not through the knowledge of thy neighbor. Ponder this in thy heart, how it behoveth thee to be. Verily, justice is my gift to thee, and a sign of my loving kindness. Set it then before thine eyes. Bahá'u'lláh.
Thank you, Hari. We will, as Dan mentioned, we will cover this in our next session and leave you with a question. Why is justice the best beloved of all things in God's sight? And we will investigate that question in our next session. Uh, so uh, Thank you so much for joining us here on the Ocean of His Words channel. And we hope you found this video useful and stimulating. And we encourage you to subscribe to this channel and participate in the comment section below. And let's all continue to immerse ourselves in the ocean of His words so that we may unravel its secrets and discover more pearls of wisdom hidden in its depths. And until next time, take care. Bye.
Bye.